What's up, guys? Coach Matt and YouGoProBaseball.com, and I'm here with Matt Antonelli from Antonelli Baseball. He was a major league hitter, middle infielder, Padres organization. We played together. I kind of want to pick your brain about and have you elaborate on in this video. First one is, what kind of gear did you get in the major leagues when you were in the major leagues?
How it works is typically your team is going to provide you with your jersey top and your pants, and maybe like a shirt like this, but you're not actually gonna get a lot of stuff from the actual team. You'll get your hat too, but most of the stuff you wear, like for me, batting gloves, cleats, anything underneath my uniform, a whole bunch of these dry fit type shirts, wristbands, all that stuff typically came from whoever your sponsor was. Some guys don't get a sponsor, and we actually play with a bunch of guys. I know a bunch of guys that would show up and they would be having to go out and buy their stuff at, wherever. They go to Dick's Sporting Goods or something and buy their stuff. You typically, by the time you get to the major leagues, most guys have deals. And so how it worked for me is my agent would set it up. So like my first year when we first played together, that very first season, companies were starting to send me stuff. And so I'd get like boxes of like some Nike gear and some Adidas gear. And I got really lucky, fortunately for me, I got drafted high. And so people wanted to send me stuff. After about 5-6 years, they wanted to take it all away. But for a little bit, they were actually sending me stuff. And so, I tried on the stuff, and I told my agent, listen, I really like this Nike stuff, and plus Nike's a big name. And so I said, let's go with Nike. So what happens is once you get that sponsorship, they start sending you everything. So the type of gear that I would get from them, literally they would send me, turf shoes, cleats. You'd wear compression shorts underneath your uniform. If it's cold, you get kind of like that cold gear, that long gear stuff. You'd get a ton of these dry fits, batting gloves, wristbands, all that stuff. And if you want more, all I would literally do is tell my agent, hey, I'm all out of batting gloves. Can I get some more batting gloves? And he would put the order in, and within a few days, I'd go to my locker and there'd be batting gloves in there. So you get kind of spoiled at the major league level, and some guys get spoiled at the minor league level, but again, there's a lot of guys that have to get their own stuff. It really just depends on a lot of things. Depends if you're drafted high or low, even though that's kind of unfair. That's the way it kind of works. Some guys' agents have better connections than others, so it really depends. But yeah, all that gear, all that stuff typically comes from a sponsorship or through your agency.
Put it in perspective, I was an 8th round draft pick. I didn't have any sponsors, but my agent would send me stuff. So I don't know if he was going out and buying it, or perhaps maybe the agent has many different players and they have deals, so he has a bunch of stuff and he's sending it to all his players. So I would always get a box, but for me it was through my agent. Now, one thing I will say is, when we were at the Padres, we only got like one shirt, one shorts, whatever, not a whole bunch of stuff.
And they were usually, at least our years, were like cotton, like not comfortable, like, way up here. So
way up, like big coochie cutters. Man, they were bad. But I will say, when I went to the Mets, I walked in, the whole locker was just packed with awesome stuff. It was so cool. Spikes, turfs,
really?
A whole locker full of just stuff to wear. So I will say that versus the Padres organization, the Mets definitely hooked you up on the sweet gear for sure. I think probably a big market team, big money team, whatever. But I enjoyed that part of it. So second question is, what about the pay in the major leagues? How do you get paid? When do you get paid? How does that whole work?
Yeah, I think the misconception with pay is that no matter what level you're at, you don't get paid in spring training, and you don't get paid in the off season, and you don't get paid in the playoffs. If you're in the big leagues, you can get, if you win, you get some bonuses and stuff. But really, you only get paid for that regular season. So when we go to spring training, all you get is meal money for spring training. And so what happens is you'd show up, and if you're in the minor leagues, I think when we were playing, it was like $20 a day, I believe. And I think in the big leagues, it was $100 a day. So you'd show up, you'd go into your clubby, and they usually give you cash. They'd give you, in the big leagues, you get $700. In the minor leagues, you get $140. And that's your money, and you got to make that last. Once the season starts, then you finally get paid whatever it is you get paid. So if you're in the major leagues, for me, I got league minimum, which was, my year was $400,000. Now I think it's like $550 maybe, or something like that, somewhere around there. And you get paid every 2 weeks. So it was like the 1st and the 15th, I think it was. You get your check. And so it's either direct deposited. I think the first year or so, I don't know why, the check would be in my locker and I have to go and deposit it. But after a while, you get it direct deposited. and you're getting paid every 2 weeks. And that goes all the way through until the season ends. And when the season's over, that's it. Like, you don't get paid anymore. A lot of people don't realize that. And so most guys go and get jobs during the off season because they're not making any money anymore. So unless if you're a major league guy, then yeah, you're probably not going and busting tables and stuff like that. But if you're a minor league player, you're probably going and getting some type of job. I used to do lessons and run clinics and camps and all that stuff, but we know guys that did all kinds of stuff over the off season. So that's how pay worked.
Two things. One, I remember when I learned about the living off money, and they would give you money in spring training if you didn't want to stay at the hotel and you want to live somewhere else. So they cut you a check or give you cash, I forget. But it was like in the minor leagues, it was like $800 or something to go live somewhere else. So what we would do is we'd find 3 or 4 guys and we'd go rent a house. So now we got 800 times 4, which is 3,200. So we could get a nice house for spring training. When I learned about that living off money, I definitely capitalized on that. The second thing I wanted to ask you was, so what does that come out to? So every 2 weeks, the 1st and the 15th, at Major League salary, after taxes and all that, what is a paycheck?
I can't remember my exact amount, but I do remember before taxes, I think it was like $65,000 for the month. Break that down, let's say 30-something thousand every 2 weeks, but then you take out taxes. So I honestly don't remember the exact amount, but it was obviously way more than we were getting. I think it was probably coming out to like $20,000 every 2 weeks, something like that. And so you go from the minor leagues getting paid some months, you get a couple $100, you know? Like, I remember getting checks in the minors my first year. You get a check and it was like, for what, $200 every 2 weeks maybe? And then you go, you know, fast forward and get to the major leagues, and I'm getting league minimum. The lowest player in the league, you know, you're getting $20,000 every couple of weeks. And so it's a little bit different. And then you talk about the guys getting, you know, $20-30 million a year, and then it gets mind-boggling.
And they're getting money from sponsors and other deals, whatever they got. That's
crazy.
Now, what about the food in the major leagues? How is that different from the minor league?
Yeah.
What do you get?
Peanut butter and jelly is typically, as you know,
Big steak.
Yeah, minor league steak, yeah. And so when you get there, it's peanut butter and jelly. I remember when we were in Eugene, Eugene was my first stop. That was it. It was like peanut butter and jelly before the game, peanut butter and jelly after the game. Like, that was it. So as you move up, the food gets a little bit better. It does depend, I think, on the organization and where you're playing at. I think for the Padres, for us, like when we got to AA in San Antonio, that's when the food started to get a little bit better. So you get food before the game and after the game. Like, they'd actually cook you some food after the game. So you might get some steak or some chicken, you know, some corn on the cob and stuff. AAA usually gets a lot better. Usually you'll get, you know, they'll start actually going out to restaurants. When you get to the major leagues, that's when it's the absolute best. I'm a really picky eater. So I'd get to the game and I'd be like, I'd eat burger. I'd eat a burger all the time. So I'd walk in and I'd go in the calf and I'd go up and I'd go, hey, can I get a burger with some fries? You could do whatever you want. And they'd be, yep, sure thing. They cook it up for you, give it to you, boom, you're good. You could have that before games, after games. And then you've got big leaguers, like we had Brian Giles that would have sushi night. So he'd bring in a sushi chef and there'd be just sushi everywhere. And so it really depends. The older guys, if you have a team with veterans, they usually really take care of guys and they'll have those type of nights and stuff. So food's a little bit better at the major league level than the minor league level. It was unbelievable. I remember he brought an Outback one night and they had like the grills out there and they're cooking us up like everything. But that's what big leaguers do. That's the best part, is when they come down to the minor leagues to rehab, they almost always do something for the team, whether they buy food or bring in a cook or something. So yeah, it's awesome.
Anyway, thank you so much. Appreciate it. We'll see you guys next time.